for instance, who had a tech company and was looking for an investor, what would you be looking for in a company to invest in?
Well, I was looking. It's more about looking for the right founder, right, of the company. And the founder is really everything. So just making sure it's a good fit, and also making sure that's a solid business model. I'm looking for like need type of businesses, not want businesses, if you know what I mean. Like things that people need versus things that people want.
Okay. All right. And so when you say you're looking for the right founder, what do you look for in a founder?
Someone who has a very high work ethic, very dedicated, passionate, really interested in their project, and has the right vision.
Okay. All right. Have you had any good exits?
That's what I'm working on right now. Just trying to get a good exit. I have one company that I'm investing into, which is supposed to be a well-connected guy in LA next week. I think it's the same accelerator that did Stripe and Zoom and a few others. We're gonna have lunch, so to see if he wants to allow this one in. But yeah, it's to fix a very core issue that we're facing right now in the technology industry. And that core issue is getting people jobs.
Right.
But doing it in an autonomous way so that you don't actually have to do anything.
So what would that look like?
What's that?
What would that look like? I mean, you said in an autonomous way where they don't have to do it.
Well, you get your own assistant. The assistant has technology built around them. You get pretty much the assistant has a lot of tooling so that he or she can basically set you up for success. So all you have to do is show up for Zoom calls.
And have money to invest, apparently.
What's that?
I mean, and have the financial means to be able to be, making investments.
Oh, you mean into the
Angel
venture?
investing, right? You would obviously need the capital to be able to do that.
Well, yeah, I have the capital to
Okay.
invest into it. So that's what I'm angel investing into right now.
What do you? I was curious. I'm forwarding your. I sent you a DM also. It's not for me, but a friend of mine. What do you look for when you're trying to fund a film? Like, you're looking for? I have someone I'm going to send your way that's got a script already done. I think he's worked on it for the last 7 years. They've shot a trailer. They have some talent already signed on and holding. They're just looking for funding. What's your typical? I mean, what size project are you typically funding in the film world?
Well, I like horror films because they make good money.
Yep, and this one's actually horror, believe it or not. So I'll definitely send it to you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so horror is usually the genre I go to. Horror are cheap to produce, and as long as you have a good casting director, which I do, and good connections, which I do, you can make some good money off of films.
Good deal.
Yeah, I sent him a message that you're on right now, and I'll connect to you too if he's interested in text me back. It's cool.
All right. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook. It's called Clever Street Films. We're based out of Austin.
Okay.
All right. Hey, well, thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, no problem.
Hang out. You may have somebody, you may get something you want to comment on. So stay with us. Let's go to Cool Peoples.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How are you tonight?
Oh my God! So the follow up from last meeting, I was here for Como Deco. We were talking about compact modular eco housing, right? I brought it up to the team over there, and the woman who had originally, like, I've been working on this with her for like 8 years. She's an older woman, like in her 60s, right? And I told her, I was like, oh, I had went to investor hours on Ontro. You should download this app and, talk to, these guys, get on the call with us, whatnot. And she didn't even believe that Ontro was a thing. And it turned into like a pissing contest. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go to Dubai to get funding from the ambassador of Gaza. And I'm like, who, what? And then me and the other partner, she got, like, it was a 3-way call that we had. And then so the other partner got off the call, called me and said, like, look, she's just like in her own world. Like, I want to do something, just with you, if we can get funding. And so we kind of hashed out a completely new business plan. We call it Eco Habitat. We're going to get a 3D printer. So we're going to use modular housing for some of the units, and we're going to 3D print the other units. So we're in the process of actually incorporating this. Business plan is already done. We're now like we're going to incorporate it, and then we're going to be looking for funding for Eco Habitat. It just turned, I didn't expect it, just out of the blue. But I guess now I'm starting a completely different company. that's a follow-up. Any advice that you guys can give on just like people just going crazy on you all of a sudden, like for no reason, just because they think like you're shitting on them. I'm not shitting on you. I'm just telling you that people like Como Deco, they like the concept, but like, how can we move forward if we can't get a business plan? We have two units on hand. Like, we need this to look professional. We need it to look legit. You can't just go and, tell me, oh, since I found somebody, now all of a sudden you found somebody, and before you had nothing, and you don't even, the LLC that she had is just inactive. We were talking to her about that, like, hey, well, this LLC is inactive. Like, we have to do something. Either we start a new company or whatever. It just turned into a completely different scenario.
Well, it kind of sounds to me like she was a little bit squirrely to begin with. I don't think it was anything you did necessarily, but it sounds to me like she was a little bit squirrely to begin with.
Just be careful when you pick business partners, man. They're like lifelong relationships. It's all I always say go slow, especially in the beginning when you're not dealing with folks you don't know well. Go real slow. And this is stuff that I've learned the hard way over the years. I don't care if it's someone you know real well or your cousin. Have agreements that spell out who does what, who has what, who owns what. Just so you don't get it. It's not about people's feelings. It's making sure everyone's clear about what the goal is, what the company is, and what the charter is. And I think the sooner you do that, the better. A lot of times I see founders that are like, well, we just formed the company last week. We don't really need to do a charter. We don't need to do articles of incorporation. I would say I see that a lot. That happens a lot. And then later on, when shit goes south, and it sometimes does in business, it's really hard to figure stuff out. So,
Yeah.
Scott, I don't know if you've ever had that. I've had a couple companies actually fold over it.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple LLC partnerships, and one thing I've done, get an attorney, get an operational agreement written up. So, like Steve said, everything's defined. This is this is what, my responsibility is. This is what his responsibility is. And I mean, that makes it clean. Not that everybody's going to follow it to a T, but when things go south, at least you have something to point to. Like, it's not, hey, he said, she said. It's, hey, look, this is in writing. This is what we agreed to.
Yeah, that's what I definitely didn't have. And now with this next company, that's what we have all that pretty much figured out. So next meeting is going to be a completely different, situation. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, setting up a new LLC is not a big deal. I mean, it's it can be done in a day or two, and it's not very expensive. But I would definitely put an operation agreement into that anytime you do that.
If you
Thanks
guys
for coming by, man, and for giving us an update. We appreciate you.
Oh no, I'm gonna keep giving updates. I think this is like, it's an unfolding scenario, because now we're looking for somebody who actually has the 3D printers. Like, that's a tough thing to find. So if you guys happen to know anybody who actually is in the construction business and happens to have a 3D printer for cement housing, let me know, please.
Okay.
Okay, you got it.
All right. Hey, thanks so much, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, guys.
Okay. Let's go to Andres. Good evening, Andres. Hello.
Hello again.
How are you, sir?
Doing great. Prepare my pitch.
Please.
Fantastic. There's a little, if you want to show something, there's a little
Yep.
button, start share down the bottom. Thank you.
Entire screen.
There you go.
Okay, I think you should be able to see it.
Yep.
Okay. My name is Andres Borek, and I'm the founder of InfiniBay. And 1 year ago, I embarked on a mission to simplify the way we access our computer. InfiniBay is not just another virtual desktop company. It's a journey towards making technology universally accessible. But let's first explain what VDI is. VDI, or Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, is like a universal remote control that lets you access your computer from anywhere, from any device, being your phone, your tablet, or maybe another computer. Yet current solutions could have some issues, and they are pretty complex. They are like those remote control that has so many buttons, like the image in the left, that you have no idea how to use it unless you are a tech savvy. And our idea is to simplify this, like in the control at the right, to make it more useful, because this complexity is a barrier for SMBs to be able to use VDI. Because if we check this, 31% of SMB lack enough IT resources. 2/3 of SMB have experienced already a cybersecurity attack, and 1/3 of the IT budgets go just for infrastructure management. This is a real problem, so something needs to be done. Our current big competitors, in this case Red Hat, VMware, and Citrix, are facing similar issues. If we check Red Hat, the main problem is that you need quite some experience with Linux and Linux tools, because you are going to be using the console a lot, and the UI is not good. In the case of VMware, the problem is that basically you need an expert IT staff. The setup is complicated, and the upgrade process is quite tedious. Also, the support is not great. In the case of Citrix, the main problem that people complain about, there is one single console to manage everything and has so many moving parts that is quite complex to use. And the user profile needs some improvement. So as we can see, the main common problem is the complexity in the market. And our idea of product, we try to make VDI accessible to everyone, simplifying the installation, the usage, and the scalability, without forgetting about the security, because that's a really $20 billion for 2032. And USA is expecting to have a not minor detail is that USA is expecting that 22% of the jobs are going to be remote for 2025. And this is a perfect opportunity for this kind of product. So thank you for your attention. My contacts are there. And if you have any question.
It's great. Well, first of all, last time, so you did a nice job defining what it is. I think you did a really good job explaining the problem, and the remote control was brilliant because it's super simple to understand because everyone understands remote control, and the more buttons, the more complex it is. So I think you did a great job there. And I think you did an excellent job at defining your competitors, the three big ones, and why they're hard and why they're complex and why this problem exists. If I had any critique, the one challenge is that you did a good job showing and explaining your prototype, but you really, and it's early, so it's hard. You really haven't nailed, since we went to market, here's our product versus theirs, and here's what customers are saying, and here's the people that have bought it and why they like it. And it's probably too early for that.
Yes.
So I sort of got to that point of, okay, this is a really big market. It's a really hard problem to solve. This guy's got a product. Shit, he hasn't done anything yet. It was like an anticlimactic. You did such a great job getting me there. And then I was waiting for, they've got customers and revenue and people love it. It was just sort of, and that's it. And here's my contact info.
Yeah.
So, and it's probably a product just of your stage and where you are. But I think up until that point, I actually think you did a very nice job in sort of getting to that point. But Scott, I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, much, you know, a lot of what you said, you know, I'm in alignment with. You know, I think as I was listening, I didn't get a lot of clarity on like what your product actually does, and maybe it's just the time of night for me that maybe my attention span is not as sharp as it was at about 12 this afternoon. But I just, you know, I really, like, I was trying to focus in, and I just really didn't really grasp exactly what your product does, other than the fact that it's a good time to invest. So, you know, I'd like to listen to your pitch again, frankly, and, you know, maybe drill down a little bit more. So.
Okay. Yeah. So, Andreas, am I thinking about it right that you're so early? That's why you sort of got to that point of, we have a beta, but we haven't launched yet. Am I thinking about this right?
Yeah, we don't have a beta yet. We, like I said, we have a working proof of concept. The UI is not yet, of course, not yet complete. Yes, that's one of the questions that I have is, what's your recommendation for my guest? Because of course the product is quite big, to be honest, to build, and of course it's kind of hard to continue to make, I would say, such big product presentation before going to invest. You know, it's such a big product that is kind of hard to make. Like to go to an MVP without investment. I have a working proof of concept that I can show. I can open and show that it's working.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of, I'm in the moment that, okay, what should I do right now? Should I go investment, continue developing? What's your recommendation?
I think, look, anytime you get into either a technical product or a product that costs a lot for development, it's one of the moats that keeps your competitors profitable, but also keeps people out of the space. So for example, it's going to be let me give you a great example that everybody can relate to. For someone to come in and overtake Elon and Tesla, it's going to be pretty hard, because it costs hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to do that. So unless you're Ford or GM and someone that has unlimited, limitless capital, it's very difficult to start a brand new electric car company. same thing in this space. That doesn't, and what it also does is it makes it hard to get funding, because no one's going to give you, in the current climate, especially with markets the way they are, no one's going to give you funding on an idea. They're going to give you funding on results. So if you're saying you need, and it's different for everybody. So Andres, how much would it be to get from the beta to MVP? Is this $50,000 or $5 million?
Yeah.
Have you thought of that?
Yes, I made the number to go for version 1. I would say it's gonna take around 1.5 year, more or less, max 2 years, and it's gonna cost around 2 million. Yeah.
Yeah, so see, that's a
2.2
lot to get to. It's a lot to get. It's a lot to get to an MVP when you can't prove that what you're building is better than what already exists. So I would think of one way to do it is, I've seen this before, go find an anchor customer, someone that has this problem and someone that feels the pain of using these other services so bad that they would be willing to fund your development of an alternative. I have seen that done successfully. It's hard,
Right.
but I have seen that. Have you, Scott?
Yeah, I have heard of that. I mean, there's also grants out there. I mean, and it's hard. It's hard to get $1.5 million in grants, but
Yeah.
you know, you might get just, you know, you might get 100,000 to start, which, you know, might put you on your way to get to your next chapter. So
Right.
there's
I know it's not
SBA
really what you want to hear, but that's what I would. That's what
No.
we're seeing in the marketplace. It's hard.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any feedback is always welcome.
Right.
So
Right. But thank you for coming up
Thank you.
and sharing with us, man. You did a really nice job, especially
you
for
did.
something that's so early. So nice work.
yeah. All right, let's go to Warren.
Actually, can you guys want to skip me real quick, and I'll be ready to just a couple minutes. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something.
Sure.
Sure, man.
Let's go to Prayas. Hello.
Okay, there you go.
Hi, Prayo.
Hi. Hello. First time I'm joining this call, and so I'm really excited to give my pitch over here. And thank you, Andrew, for setting the stage up. So let me also share my screen, and I want to share this idea that
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, welcome.
love some feedback. Hi. Alrighty, so I'm working on a business idea called App Ship, where you can build an app once and deploy the app to multiple marketplaces. And to understand this concept, think about how many marketplaces are there today. So you must have heard about Google Play Store or like Apple's App Store. So in order to create apps for those marketplaces, what you have to do is to either code a app manually or use a no-code app builder, and then that app can be directly deployed. But if you come into the B2B realm of the same thing, so in B2B, you have multiple platforms, and some massive, some small. For example, Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, Google, Amazon, AWS, there's so many platforms. So when you go to these platforms, what you realize is, what's up with the marketplaces, to be honest, because like there are 4,000 plus marketplaces today. And like right now we are having 100 plus marketplaces added every single year. And each marketplace is essentially unique. So you need to understand how to create apps for these marketplaces to build anything. And we need to understand that one app is only valid on one marketplace because each marketplace is so unique and so different. So one app cannot be compatible with multiple marketplaces. And again, the last thing is build is expensive. So let's try to dive into the customer journey where you have to build a marketplace and you need to go from like a point A to point B. Point A being we need an app as a company, and point B being we have a live app. So in order to actually get a live app, what you need to do is you need to make a decision. So this is the customer journey when you decide that you build the app yourself. So you collect a team of people. Then you do a discovery of like, okay, I understand this marketplace. Now let me understand how to build an app on this marketplace. You train your teams. You go ahead and have some budget allocation. Then you do the main thing, that is development. Once you have the app ready, you do some testing, you do listing, and then you're there in the marketplace, you have your own app. To summarize this journey, we have two main phases that take most of the time. The first one we'll call the Everest, that is discovery, and the second one we'll call Mariana Trench, just for reference. So the next stage of customer journey is understanding what happens when you need to build the same app 10 in 10 marketplaces. You have to go through the same journey 10 times. Hence, you multiply the same journey, the same cost, the same everything 10 times. But market has actually found a better way of doing this. That is outsource. Outsource to a company which understands how to build an app. So in that case, your point A and point B remain the same. Your journey gets slightly different by not much, but a little bit different. You do vendor analysis, you do vendor finalization, you do some budget allocation, development, testing, and listing. All of this remain the same. And the only difference is we're assuming that your vendor still has knowledge of all the marketplaces out there. So you don't have to do vendor analysis again and again. Your Everest and Mariana Trench are still there because vendor analysis takes time and development is still taking the same time. So what happens when you have to build 10 marketplace apps using the same approach? You have to go through Mariana Trench 10 times. So sure, that cuts down the time, but still the development and is the core part and it's taking the same time as it was taking earlier. So what's the problem statement that we are trying to look for? There's one build cycle per app. That means for one single app, for one single marketplace, I have to build the app one time. That means we have longer go-to-market for each application. We understand that each marketplace is unique, and it's definitely expensive to build each app. And in the United States, it's called somewhere towards $500,000 to $1 million to actually build one app and maintain it for a couple of years. And there is no centralized monitoring or analytics. So if I have 10 apps in like 10 different marketplaces, I have to log in into each of the marketplace partner portal to understand what's happening with my application. And that's where we are trying to build a desired state on what should actually happen. Where your point A to point B is, we need an app, let's build it. You build an app, you test it, and you list it. So it should be like a very straightforward way. I do not need to understand how does this marketplace work. If I know how to build app, I should be able to build it once and then take the same app and deploy it 10 times. Even if you have to build the same app for like, you basically have to build one app and then deploy it 10 times. So you have to go to the customer journey only one time in that case. So for one single app, you build an app using your existing knowledge, and then you use a tool that can list same app multiple times in multiple marketplaces. And that's where AppShip comes in. Excuse me. So that's our core value add that we're trying to provide to our customers. You build app once and you deploy to multiple marketplaces. We have an AI-powered app builder where you can use our no-code app builder by drag and drop, and they can build a particular application for your use case, and then use our deployment pipelines to actually ship our app as fast as possible. So we have a faster go-to-market with automated deployment, and then we also provide you centralized monitoring and analytics. So that means if things are going wrong in your application, if there are bugs, or if your customers are actually complaining about the application, we can show you all those insights in one single dashboard coming in from all the app marketplaces that you are connected to. So one interesting thought is can be like, what's the market size of this kind of idea? And that's pretty interesting because the global TAM for this particular idea is 279.8 billion. Excuse me. And the US TAM is 110 billion. The SAM is 33 billion, and SOM is going to be 14 million as a 5-year obtainable market for our product. And this is, again, very conservative metrics for our particular product, given like the interest has been amazing so far. So just to quickly cover who's our competition, a lot of the competition is outsourcing companies or like no-code app builders. No-code app builders still do not deploy into any of the B2B marketplaces. So there is a big feature gap over there, which is very difficult to overcome, that we are specifically targeting. And the outsourcing companies are very expensive. As I said, it takes $500,000 to $1 million to build and maintain one app using outsourcing company. And then, as all of us know, that in-house development is the most expensive option in the United States. What's our competitive advantage? We have pre-built use case templates. So if you want to build an app for one use case, we have pre-built use case templates, and we have AI-generated templates as well. So if you want to build an app for, let's say, hey, sync my data from my platform to Salesforce, you just give us a prompt and then we'll build that app for you using just a prompt. We also have a headless implementation. So we do deployment, monitoring, and management, and we have connectors that you can directly use for Salesforce, Zendesk, and whatever you need. So you do not need to know how does a marketplace work to essentially build an app anymore. We have pipeline support in marketplaces. That means we have pre-built deployment pipelines. You don't need to worry about like listing or like understanding how to put an app on a marketplace. And then this is your one place for all your apps across the ecosystem. And just to visualize how it looks like in terms of the benefit, if you outsource or if you build in-house, so each app takes almost the same time to build. But with AppShip, what happens is once you understand how to build the app using AppShip, you take the same app and deploy it in multiple marketplaces. So your number of marketplaces deployed grows significantly in a couple of months. I'm going to slide through the next couple of slides pretty soon so that we have more time for feedback. The target customer, we are targeting the small and medium enterprises initially. Eventually, we'll target app and marketplace builders as well. The large enterprise and consultancies are still far off for our product because they generally prefer spending more into their own contemporary code and like having more control over the application that they are building. The revenue stream and pricing is pretty interesting because we have three essential revenue streams. The first one is SaaS fee, where you pay a straight fee to use our platform to build the app builder. You build the app using the app builder, you get like an n number of apps that you can build. You get like n numbers of deployments or like marketplaces that you can build on. Second is premium marketplace. So something like Salesforce is a premium marketplace because it takes a lot of effort to build an app on Salesforce. Hence, it's a premium marketplace. So that's an additional revenue stream for our company. Third is professional services. So if, let's say, you want to say, I don't want to own any hassle of building an app. So AppShip can actually take that job and still ship your app much faster than any other consultancy out on the market. Our go-to-market is we are actually building the app to be building the company today. We have a very small demoable product, but the good thing is we are about to make our MVP ready for our first customers in the next 2 months. So we are pretty close to that. It's not a very resource-intensive build, given me and my co-founder are both from the tech industry. I have built applications as a software engineer for a very long time. I'm a product manager right now, so I actually lead teams which build these integrations and connectors and like applications. My co-founder is an AI specialist. He has been working in Amazon for a couple of years, and then he understands how this AI work is working, AI world is working today, and like what all the constraints and all the benefits that we can get from the recent generative AI amazing stuff that's happening over there. So that's why us, because we have the experience and expertise in this particular idea. And lastly, questions and feedback. Sorry if I went a little bit longer.
Okay. Thanks, Price. Appreciate you, man. Scott, why don't we have you start?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for coming up. Well, let me just start with the fundamental problem that I saw. When you came on, what you said was, we have this product that can be used to develop apps in up to 10 different industries using the same template. Did I get that correct?
Not in this 10 industries, but 10 marketplaces.
10 marketplaces. Okay.
Yeah.
So just so I understand, what's the difference between a marketplace and an industry?
Gotcha. So industry essentially means that your line of business is entirely different in that case.
Okay.
Marketplace can be like one market, like there can be multiple marketplaces in the same industry. So for example, CRM or customer resource management is one industry, and Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho are like different marketplaces or different products in the same industry.
Okay. So I guess, what I wasn't understanding is, what's the probability that someone's going to come to you and say, hey, I need 10 apps for 10 different marketplaces? Because most companies, their apps are pretty single source. They're really looking for a single source. So later in the pitch, what you said is, hey, we have templates and we can develop your app cheaply, which for me, I thought, hey, that's the message that resonated with me. Like, hey, we can bring this to market, in a more affordable way for you, and do it a lot quicker and get you guys moving a lot quicker, rather than saying, hey, we can develop you in 10 different marketplaces. Because I don't think there's too many people that come to you and say, hey, I'm developing this thing in 5 or 6 different marketplaces. Other than that,
So
I would keep it to 3 to 4 minutes. I think it's very clear that you understand your product very well. That you're fundamental. You've designed this. You've had a hand in designing this. You have a good grip on what you're doing. You have a good command of the pitch. Those are my fundamental comments on it. Steve, what about you?
So Price, first of all, congratulations on your success to date, and thank you for having the courage to come up and do this. It's not easy, especially first time. So welcome to Entra. We're happy to have you. I think you did a nice job in trying to define the problem of the one-to-one relationship that exists in the app marketplaces right now, and why that's a problem for customers. So I think you did a nice job there. I think you did a nice job talking about the complexity of the marketplaces, with this 4,000 marketplaces. So it's really hard to differentiate. There was a lot of buildup to getting to your product. There was a ton of discussion on the journey, and I got a little bit lost on the journey. It was long. It was like, I'm like, I got it. It's long. It's hard. There's a lot of steps. I'm like, what are you doing to solve this problem? Like, you got me. Almost like, you ever seen the movie Jerry Maguire, You Had Me at Hello? Like, you had me at hello. Can you just get to what you're doing to solve this? And there was not a ton of time spent on your solution, how you're differentiating, what your initial beta customers are telling you, why it's better. Anytime you can bring a conversation from the customer perspective, as opposed to you saying how great we are, your customer saying that, if you had maybe even a couple of quotes. I know it's early, but let me give you a couple of examples of customers that are using our initial prototype and love it. This is Steve, and Steve runs a company called XYZ, and this is what he found, and this is why he loves us. Anytime you can do that, it brings the journey to light for someone like Scott and I on the investor side. So I think that would be really helpful. And I do agree with Scott. I say it all the time. Time kills all deals. Once you get past 3 or 4 minutes in a presentation, you have lost an investor. I would actually argue you have a minute to make an impression. If you can't get to that problem, why it's big, and how you're solving it in that first minute or two, it's going to be really hard to keep investors' attention. I would try to make a goal to have your pitch be no longer than 3 or 4 minutes. We talk about it all the time here. There's a gentleman by the name of Jason Calacanis, who's a really successful, famous angel investor. He runs an accelerator called Launch. He's invested in over 300 companies, some of the biggest ones in the world, including Uber and Calm and Notion, which are 3 unicorns of his. When people pitch him, he puts a massive stopwatch and it says 3 minutes. And at the end of 3 minutes, even if you're not done, you're done. And that's it. And I'm not saying 3 minutes is the right number, but just think of it when you're delivering this presentation and trying to get people to grasp their attention. So I hope that's helpful, sir.
absolutely, yeah, I think that's a great feedback. I'll work on that. I appreciate this.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you so
thank you.
much.
Thank you for being with us, and please come visit us again. Always love to have founders here. So thank you for your
Thank you
pitch,
so much.
and have a great holiday.
You too.
All right, we got Warren.
You do. I am actually here now, ready to go. So we're good. How you
All
doing,
right.
guys?
Good. How are you?
Good, man.
Not too shabby. I don't really have like I guess like a pitch deck or anything to go over. I'm kind of like in the like figuring out exactly where the opportunities are kind of stage at the moment. But I was kind of I guess I've had a couple of things that it might be good to have some investor opinions on, I suppose. I suppose probably the first of which would be I personally, like, I'm really into the whole open source thing. Like, in my opinion, if what you're worried about is somebody like copy pasting or forking your code and then building something better than you, then you can probably stand to make your thing better. So why not just give everyone your code? Um, but I'm curious, but a lot of people in the founder space that I talk to are all like, "Oh no, I can't open source my thing. How will I ever make money? How will VCs ever, want to invest in something because it's open source?" Um, but at least in, like, to me, it seems like there's plenty, like, there are very few go-to-market strategies that open sourcing your product prevents you from doing. So I guess I'm curious as to, like, from a like an investor perspective, if you're looking at something and you find it kind of pretty interesting, and then you find out, oh, like, this whole thing is open source. What's your kind of reaction to that, I suppose?
I don't have a problem with things using open source code because some of that code and OpenAI and ChatGPT are probably the most widely known open source product is allowing people to iterate and go faster. The question I always ask um, to anyone that comes to me with something that's built on top of that is, and I'll use a good example, Scott, I don't know if you've seen this, like every week I get investor pitches. If I get another we're chat GPT for tax services, I think I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, I'm sick
Like
of
I've
those
gotten
too,
at
don't
least
worry.
10 of them. I've just gotten 10 of those recently.
Oh my
And
God.
my question is always the same. My question is, how are you so different? And how are you going to use this no code tool, put your spin on it, your twist, to either be first to market or gain a competitive advantage or a moat so that someone else can't come by and use the same open source tool to beat you to the punch? That's really the question. It's not that open source tools are bad. It's how are you going to use them so successfully that it creates a competitive advantage for you over everyone else using them. But I'll pause there and let Scott comment.
You know, I don't have much to add because I don't really understand the whole open source um, issue.
It is
So
kind of a thing for nerds, so it's all good.
yeah, so I don't really have much to add to what Steve just said.
Yeah, I guess the thing for me is like I've talked to a few people, and their stuff may or may not be built on top of something that's open source, but they're always hesitant to, like, release their code as an open source project for other people to iterate on. And I'm like, it's difficult for me to, like, or like, it seems like their reaction is like the default way I should build my thing is I should have it be closed source so nobody can copy it, so I can get there first. Um, and that just doesn't seem super high value to me, in terms of like what you lose as opposed to not open sourcing your thing. So I guess I agree that, like, if you're building something on top of an existing open source project and you're building something closed source on top of it and trying to go to market with it, yeah, there's, that's a whole can of worms. But I don't know, to me it at least, or I guess, like, to clarify, Steve, like, so your perspective is like, if you have a solid go to market strategy, I don't care whether or not you're open source, whether your thing that you're making is open source or closed source, and, like, I just need to I need to know that you're differentiating and, like, why you're better than the other people. Basically, is that kind of?
That's it. That's it. Why are you going to package this using this code or this tool set differently than everybody else? And why are you going to win? Are you just smarter than everybody else? You go to market is better. Your marketing is better. You've identified your ideal customer profile better. What's going to be so special? I think that's really it for me.
Yeah, I think that's good information. Is like, and that's kind of, yeah, I guess, so to wax philosophical a little bit, is that, like, that's kind of where I'm at with it too, where it's like, if you are worried about someone copying your code and doing it better than you, then you're not doing it good enough. So, like, you got to figure that part out.
Correct.
So there's no reason not to open it up. On that
Totally.
on that topic, I guess currently what I'm looking at is my latest kind of thing is I organized or I helped organize the online portion of a hackathon pretty recently for the OpenAI Dev Day. And then I have a bunch of like leftover, you made like a Discord server. So I have like this place with a bunch of people who are willing to build stuff kind of leftover. And I'm like, okay, I kind of want to try and do something with this. But think of like what I can build that's good for people and what I can build that might be attractive as like a business offering to like get more funding in the future. Because I think, at least in my opinion, like if I were to just go straight up and say I'm gonna do more hackathons, I would say my main competitor is LabLab, and LabLab I am not having participated in many of their events, I'm not particularly impressed with how well they're running things. So but I guess what I'm trying to do right now is to get the like figure out who's still here and then start to try and collect more people that are kind of on board with this whatever it is that I'm doing, basically. And the way I'm kind of approaching that right now is I'm like trying to figure out what I want to build, and then kind of going for the like influencers slash and like trying to make some entertainment content that people find interesting, and then say, hey, also I do this other thing, do you want to come by and work on stuff? Or like this week I want to run a workshop on how to run open GPTs, which is like the open source version of Sam's chat GPT, which is like good because the whole OpenAI thing is going on. So it might be useful for people to know, hey, I can actually just self-host this, and I don't have to go through Sam at all. And like I kind of want to make something around like providing resources like that to people. So I guess if you have any general advice on,
you're talking in a lot of abstracts. Like I want to build this, I want to do this. This is my community. I deal in more absolutes, honestly, Warren. Like when someone goes, here's my product, this is my traction, this is what we want to do. It's easier for me.
Okay.
I'm not the 0 to 1 guy. I can't tell you what to build. I can't tell you what your vision should be. You're going to have to iterate on that, on your own. I mean, like, that's just, it's not my forte is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Yeah. And Scott, we got to get cranking here because there's other rooms that have to happen.
Cool.
Yeah.
No worries. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you so much, everybody. Whoever we didn't get to, come back next week. We'll get you on first.
This was a good night, Scott. We had like 4 pitches tonight. It was good.
It was great.
Everybody brought their decks. Nice.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. Keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Cheers.
Travel safe, Scott, man. We'll chat with you next week.
Okay.
Be good.
Skedaddle. Interesting. Okay, well, I mean, spoiler alert, that's what we're doing, is hacking around on shit. You might have noticed me messing around on, I think I mentioned it last time, on SageMaker. I haven't played with SageMaker very much, but I was looking into running a couple of the larger models to kind of see where everybody's at. But I'm surprised that Yi is actually performing in the way that it is. Okay, what was I gonna do next outside of play video games? I think, yeah, there was a couple of things. There was, let's see. So let's swap this back over here. I guess let's do, okay, where am I going? We're gonna go, oh, I guess Mr. Triplet does like an after party for that? I don't know what's going on. This is my version of LinkedIn that I go to. Okay, well this might be like something that I am actually interested in doing, so there we go. Right. Bloomberg interview from Satya. I guess we'll do that while I go die a few more times in the caves. Okay, I gotta switch this over though. We're gonna get rid of this, and then why is I can go like that, and then okay. So now let's go Satya AMA Bloomberg, and then I wanted to check and see. What is this? Oh, my pieces is popping up. Rip. Beginner, intermediate, better with GCP. Okay. Bro, what? I swear to God, I found it. I saw it on Twitter like a second ago. Satya. Oh wait, no, it's in my chat. Let me go find that. I don't know why that guy is. Azure's inference is fast. Okay. Bloomberg TV. It was at 3 p.m. Alright, so let's go hop over to. Is there a. So I don't want. I want AI. Trying to find this thing. Okay, Bloomberg TV Satya Nadella interview. Like, can I? It's 2 hours ago. It was like 10 minutes. Okay. Well, he's a busy man, I guess. I guess we will queue this up over here and maybe find some more stuff to throw on there. Oh, this is on Bloomberg. Actually, no, I want this to be over here.
Trailblazing technologies like AI, robotics, and next-level connectivity have
and then I think there was some stuff that I wanted to listen to with the Amazon. They had an event recently. They emailed me about it. Reinvent. Got it. Okay, so Amazon reinvent. So will they give me Tuesday, November 20th? Wait, why is this? I thought this was already over. What is happening? They emailed me like, oh, you missed it. I don't think I've missed anything, guys. I don't know what you're freaking out about. Okay. Let's check out the there's a Google one too, isn't there? Google Cloud Summit. December 13th? Okay. Restream is all browser. My strat is I use Restreamer to throw up RTMP server, then have the RTMP server out to Restream to handle Twitter and YT. Offload bandwidth, and then have other, then go straight to Twitch from this server. Depends. Cloud, okay. I guess. What Prime? You goofball. Why? I was just talking about this. I don't understand why people don't want to open source all their stuff. Both. It's goofy. Sorta. It's my internet. And then somebody streaming over on Noisebridge. Oh no, it's not actually a person. I wanted to put on something. Why is there like a, okay, so events. Oh wait, I didn't check out GitHub Universe actually. Did GitHub Universe have any good like videos? Hold on, let me go check my history real quick and see if there's anything good in there. Doesn't look like it. It's just sick. Okay. So AWS reInvent 2023. Maybe we can watch it from 2022, I guess, but that shit's boring. Videos. Okay, so we had a few. Generative AI and multimodal agent application in financial market. That actually sounds cool. Let's do that. Can I like add that to my queue? Okay, cool. And then this can go
Modernized
straight in here.
factories.
Okay, cool.
A very
Hopefully that'll work.
fast-moving and dramatic last 72 to 48 hours, and I want to start with the state of play. Where are we now? OpenAI says it's hired a new CEO. We're reporting there are efforts to get Sam Altman back. Tell us where things stand.
Well, first of all, Emily, it's great to be with you. On Friday morning, we were very excited, committed, and confident in our innovation roadmap to bring this next generation of AI to our customers. And we feel fantastic and capable of doing that. And we were partnered with OpenAI, and we were partnered with Sam. And that's exactly where I am on Monday afternoon, if you will, because we think that we can, we are leading in this next generation of AI technology. We continue to be committed to OpenAI, and we continue to be committed to Sam and Greg and the team, irrespective of where they are. And, I think about Sam has chosen multiple times now to work with us, and that's fantastic to see. And I think the real thing is that the capability that Microsoft has across the tech stack is what attracts great people like Sam, and people like Sam and, innovators like Sam when it comes to AI to come to us, and we are thrilled about it.
You incredibly quickly hired Sam as well as Greg. We are hearing that Sam wants to return. Investors want him to return to OpenAI. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, as I said, we really want to partner with OpenAI, and we want to partner with Sam. And so irrespective of where Sam is, he's working with Microsoft. And that is the case on Friday, and that's the case today. And I absolutely believe that that'll be the case tomorrow.
So what are the conversations you've had with OpenAI's current board. From their perspective, where do things stand? And have you talked with Emmett Shear, the new interim CEO?
Yeah, I've had conversations with Emmett, and again, it's the same thing. There's no real difference there from where we were when we were working with Mira, and she was interim CEO, and Sam was CEO, and Emmett. So my message to them, Emmett, is very clear. We remain very, very committed to OpenAI and its mission and its sort of roadmap, and they can count on us. And then, as I said, we are also very committed to Sam and Greg and team that want to join us. If they're not at OpenAI or anyone else who is at OpenAI wants to go somewhere else, we want them to come to Microsoft and continue to work here and in partnership with OpenAI.
To your knowledge, why was Sam fired? And to your knowledge, was he involved in any wrongdoing? Has the board given you a reason?
Not, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, we were, as I said, we were very confident in Sam and his leadership team. I've not been told about anything. They published internally at OpenAI that there is not, the board has not talked about anything that Sam did other than some breakdown in communications. And I'm not directly was told by anyone from their board about any issues. And so therefore I remain confident in Sam and his leadership and capability. And that's why, we want to welcome him to Microsoft.
Now, we understand that to support a return of Sam Altman to OpenAI, Microsoft wants some changes to the board, to governance, to its overall contract with OpenAI, so something like this never happens again. What specifically are you looking for? For example, would you want a board seat? And if not, what else?
Yeah, I think we definitely will want some governance changes so that, we don't, surprises are bad, and we just want to make sure that things are done in a way that will allow us to continue to partner well. That's about it, right? This idea that somehow, suddenly changes happen without being, in the loop is not good, and we will definitely ensure that some of the changes that are needed happen, and we continue to be able to go along on the partnership with OpenAI.
So how are you envisioning this role with the sort of, advanced AI team that Sam and Greg would be joining and leading? Can you explain that? And are they actually Microsoft employees right now? Like, who do they work for?
Yeah, so they're all in the process of joining, and yes, the thing is, look, we have a ton of AI expertise in this company. In fact, at our Ignite conference last week, we talked about all of the great work OpenAI is doing and on Azure and all the models and tools that we built around it, and we also talked about all the open source models that are on Azure, from Llama and Mistral and JS and everything, and then also, in fact, not only are we leaders in LLMs in partnership with OpenAI, but we're also leaders in SLMs, or the small language models, with Phi. And we talked about that, which is all developed by Microsoft Research. So what I'm excited about is sort of creating another team that's really going to have high ambition on leading edge advanced AI work that Sam and Greg are excited about. This is something that, we've talked a lot about with them. What happens in 25? What happens in 30? What do we do to advance both the system side, the science side? And that's the thing that we will be pushing on.
Now, many folks I'm speaking with don't see Sam as a sort of big tech company guy. He has all of these side projects that we've already heard about. We've reported on new projects. Would he be able to pursue these side projects while being employed by Microsoft?
Yeah, I'm sure. Sam he's got broad interests and broad investments and so on, and we'll definitely work through the governance aspects of it. But most importantly, I think he would want to only work at Microsoft if he wants to spend his full-time time on really pursuing the mission, just like how he was spending his time on OpenAI. And so that's kind of the idea behind having him lead this advanced research team around AI with Greg and others. And that's an exciting thing for us to look forward to.
I'm curious to your reaction to, the last 3 days of events. Are you now more concerned than ever about AI safety, given we've seen clearly how fragile these institutions are?
It's a great point. The thing that I think, in some sense, I've always felt that we should think about the unintended consequences of any great advances in technology from day one versus dealing with them later. So in some sense, I welcome this dialogue, if you will, of safety and safety first even in technology and technological development, right? I mean, that's, I think, in some sense it should be celebrated that we as a tech industry have gotten to a place where we don't think of this as a trade-off, but we think about this as two considerations that are both first class, right? One is how do we build technology so that everybody in the world can have a doctor, an expert that they can reach, or a tutor, or a rural farmer in India has more agency because of technology that was developed in the West Coast of the United States a few months earlier. These are unbelievable things that democratize access on one side, but on the other side, being grounded on the here and now harms, right? Whether it's election interference or deep fakes or bias or bioterrorism, and having the guardrails against it, or even some of the AI takeoff existential risks and the alignment research that is required. So I think that there is a real robust dialogue that's happening, and real work. Like when I think about Microsoft, we have done, in fact, some of the most work around AI alignment, AI safety, guardrails. So for example, even the open source models we launched last week all have benefit from all the guardrail work we did around open AI models.
So throughout the reporting process, we've heard, concerns about potential regulatory issues, and of course, the power that Microsoft already has, the power that Microsoft has in AI. Have you, on your end, worked through all the potential legal issues at play here? I mean, I just spoke to one investor who said, they're considering suing OpenAI. There's a lot of things that have yet, it seems, to be figured out. And do you know what Microsoft's legal liability is and OpenAI's legal liability is, given your significant investment there?
Yeah, look, I'm most focused on and most excited about our ability to continue to innovate, Emily. I mean, I'll let the lawyers sort of figure out what liabilities are, but I think we have all the capability, all the IP, and all the things that we need in order to continue to essentially control our destiny here so that we can continue to innovate on behalf of our customers. That's what matters. That's what makes Microsoft Microsoft, and we'll continue to do what we need to do.
Okay, so quick last question. This is today. Who's going to be CEO of OpenAI tomorrow? You tell me.
I will leave it to OpenAI and its board.
Okay, so is this gonna play my cue or not? I don't think it's going to. Oh well, whatever. This is also not a very efficient use of speed, I don't think. I think I'm gonna dump it actually. Fuck it. We got. What's the haps? What's going on? Another one. Alright, let's go look. Where is this fucking guy, dude? Maybe around here somewhere, right? Okay. It's not a fantastic situation for me to be in. Considering. Yeah, okay. Maybe we just run it around here and see what happens. Shit. Hmm. Three, four, five, six. Okay. So it's just me. Which is just fine with me, I suppose. I would have loved to fucking murder that guy, but... Fireball only does 25 now? It's so crazy. Why must they just, like, nerf us over and over and over? Yeah, I don't know where the fuck that is. Valid point, investor man. What's your vision? I have no fucking idea, bro. No fucking clue. Alright, back in business. They're paying our lovely... We had to interact with something. Tax. Well, there's... And then there's probably the two. Yep. Everybody's favorite little friend here. Oh fuck. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Where is it? No. I think I was in the swarm. Or in the... That always fucks me up. Oh well. Not too worried about it. Nothing on the line, right? Oh, let's see. What else can we... Should we be even Ethernetted? Yeah. Okay, it's super weird. I like it disconnects a ton, but when I'm downloading, but it's not direct internet. Yeah, go for it. It's done. Go for it. Is what I mean. I do kind of want to try like just deploying something on SageMaker and see what happens. But let me go pee first, real quick. Okay. Okay. Amazon deploy a Hugging Face SageMaker. Let's watch a YouTube video. Listen to a YouTube video about how to do that.
Hi folks, my name is Emily Weber. I'm a machine learning specialist, solutions architect at Amazon Web Services, and today we're going to learn about Hugging Face on Amazon SageMaker and on AWS. And in particular, we're going to dive into hosting. So this is the third video. Remember, we've got a 3-video sequence. That first one was an introduction to Hugging Face on all of SageMaker. The second one is a deep dive on training, and now we're going to deep dive on hosting. So this is your deep dive.
Yeah, currently don't.
All
Yeah, we'll do
right,
training
so
later.
the good news, my friends, is that you can host any pre-trained Hugging Face model on SageMaker. Let me say that again. You can host any pre-trained Hugging Face model on SageMaker. It's super easy. So for all of those tens of thousands of very interesting, very complex, very high-performant NLP transformer-based models that are sitting out there on the Hugging Face Hub, you can host any of them on SageMaker, and it is desperately easy to do this. So the way we're going to do this, just as we're seeing here, go to Hugging Face Models, and then pick your model. This one is a BERT base uncased that I was testing around with, and then we're going to click on Deploy, and then Deploy via SageMaker, and then we're going to pick the task. So whichever task you are most interested in, we'll select, and then we'll just pick AWS, and then just make sure you copy that config code. But again, it's going to define your model, the model ID, the tokenizer, the task, and then it actually uses the base Hugging Face inference.py script. So Hugging Face is fully managing the inferencing in that case. Again, it's running on SageMaker, but it's using that inference script from Hugging Face. You can also deploy any of your fine-tuned models that are sitting in S3. So remember in that last video, actually in both the last videos, we were running jobs on SageMaker. We ran training jobs on SageMaker where we pointed to those base Hugging Face models, and then we fine-tuned them using our own data sets. In this case, we're going to point to that fine-tuned model that's sitting in S3, and then we're going to deploy that to a SageMaker endpoint using this Hugging Face model construct. So how does this work, you ask? It's pretty easy. So SageMaker.HuggingFace, import Hugging Face model, check. Got a role, check. You'll see this hub config. Now, if you are using a base pre-trained model straight from the hub, you want to pass in the model ID. You want to directly pass in a model ID. And you're also going to pass in a Hugging
What if-
Face
I
task.
don't
So
think my
again,
shit
that
is on the
task
hub.
name, which in this case is text generation. However, if you are using a fine-tuned model from S3, please don't pass that model ID. Just don't pass that model ID at all. Just don't pass it, and it will perform a lot better for you. It'll be a lot easier. So just don't pass that model ID when you have an S3 model data. And the S3 model data comes in down here. So again, my Hugging Face model is right here, my Transformers version,
is my screen like that,
4.6.1,
or
PyTorch,
what's going
and
on
Python
here?
versions defined. And then I'm passing in that hub configuration via this environment,
Okay,
along with my SageMaker role, and then I'm defining my model data right here. And so that is a pointer to my pre-trained model artifact that again is sitting in my S3 bucket. So I'm just passing that S3 path right here. And then model.deploy. So in this case, obviously, I'm setting up this model using that Hugging Face model object from the SageMaker page right here. You can also do this directly from your training jobs. Remember, so when you run that training job and you have that estimator object, as long as it has a finished training job associated with it, you can just do model.deploy really easily. But if you don't have that, and you're loading from S3 directly or from the hub directly, then you can follow the path. So that is how to fine-tune your model. You can also use asynchronous inference with SageMaker. So asynchronous inference is a solution we pushed out last year for larger models and models that don't need inferencing immediately. So if you don't need, within milliseconds response times, you're comfortable with a couple seconds, then asynchronous inference is a better approach. Asynchronous inference will support auto-scaling and supports Hugging Face models. So if you're hosting Hugging Face NLP models, then consider asynchronous inference as an option. For the managed queue experience, basically, if you need a queue sitting in front of your SageMaker endpoint and you want all of that to be wrapped by AWS, then asynchronous inference is the way to go. But maybe before then, I want to think about picking the right instance, actually picking the right ML instance type and size. So this is relevant for every phase of machine learning, but this comes up again and again for hosting. So let's unpack this. So first off, so this ML here in that name refers to machine learning, right? So that means it's a SageMaker instance, basically. Then you have the type of instance. So you'll notice all of the types of EC2 instances follow the same general format, where you have that type of machine, which is the letter, then you have the generation, and a higher number means it's a more recent generation. So G4, G5, P3, P4, basically, again, a higher number is a more recent machine, and it means you are always going to get better performance and better performance for that higher generation. And then the capabilities. So if it's really large, you'll see those letters here. And then the second dot, and then the size of that machine. Now, different machines are available in different sizes, but you'll see they all follow the same basic construct. So .large, .2x large, .12, .24, .9, .18, etc., etc. For hosting machine learning models, there are typically really about 4 or 5 different types of machines that I'm thinking about. T2 is really only for notebooks. I'm only going to use a T2 or a T3 if I have a model, and I'm maybe just developing with my notebook. It'd be pretty rare for me to park an endpoint on a T2. More commonly, I would look at the M5 or the C5. The C5 is compute optimized, so you're just going to get snappier compute response times. The M series is sort of more general purpose compute. And so those are 2 sort of middle of the road paths. And then again, they all come in different sizes. So different numbers of virtual CPUs, different memory sizes, etc. And then in terms of accelerated computing, you actually have 3 options. So one option is the P3 series. So those are NVIDIA V100s. You also have NVIDIA T2s, which is the G4. Actually, T2s. And so both of these types of machines are available. And so it's common for customers to pick between the P3, the G4, and the Inf1, so that AWS custom hardware from Annapurna Labs Inferentia is available on SageMaker. And actually, we're going to look at compiling a Hugging Face model and then deploying it onto Inferentia in the demo. So we need to think about our different instance types and then pick the right one and size. And if that's too much work for you, you can also use the Inference Recommender. So we launched Inference Recommender in SageMaker. It has two modes. One mode is to find the right instance type for you, where just as it sounds, we will turn on a variety of instances for you. We'll turn on the C series, we'll turn on the M series, and definitely let you, determine which one is most optimal. The second type of Inference Recommender is actually for the overall endpoint. So defining the number of machines that you want to have, so you can get a sense of what your throughput is going to look like for those machines. On each of the Inference Recommender jobs, the results come back into Studio, and then in Studio, you can, basically we have a little wizard. You can select if you care about latency, or if you care about cost, or if you care about throughput, and then we'll surface which instance is best for your preferences. So that's the Inference Recommender, and it's fully supported with Hugging Face. And with that, let's take a look at the demo. All right. So in this demo, I'm going to compile my Hugging Face model for Inferentia using SageMaker Neo. So remember, Neo is the compilation service within SageMaker that's specific to hosting. So for supported models in Neo and supported operators, you can take your model and then basically, again, compile it to just make it smaller to run more effectively on on-premises hardware, on the edge, in the cloud, and on SageMaker. So let's see how we're going to do this with Hugging Face. So first, we're going to follow the same flow where we're going to install, again, that Transformers SDK. We're going to install SageMaker and then PyTorch.
Should be fine. I can just slap in my.
And then we're going to point to a model from the Hugging Face hub. So that's the same Distilabert model we've been seeing throughout the series. And so, again, this is the construct that you should be pretty familiar with right now. So Transformers, again, that's their SDK, .auto tokenizer, .from pre-trained, and then your model name. And so here we're going to load that tokenizer locally and the model locally. So both of those we're going to download from the hub. When you are loading a model onto Inferentia, you need to compile it, actually. And you have two options for compiling it onto Inferentia. Option A is Neo, which we're going to look at, which is that sort of managed compilation job that's actually going to show up in the SageMaker console. Option B is using the Neuron SDK. So if you want to install the SDK and execute it locally in order to get that model compiled, you're welcome to do that. In this case, we're going to use Neo to execute the compilation. So both of those, as it turns out, require tracing. So torch.jit tracing, where we need to add in a few more items to run this tracing and then save the traced model. And we'll show that right here. So we're going to create a directory that's just called trace model, nice and simple. And then we need a few things. We need sample sequences, actually. JIT tracing likes to see sample inputs to your model, and then we'll pass that to the tokenizer to pass in, again, this tokenized pair. So we have a few different sequences, and actually they're exactly the same because it's just tracing, and the text input doesn't really impact the tracing so long as it's sort of authentic to your model. And so through that tokenizer, we'll pass in the sequences and the parameters here, returning the PyTorch tensors, and then we'll get this example. So the input IDs and then the attention mask. And then torch.jit.trace, we're going to call model.eval directly inside of this with that example text. So that's loaded into this traced model, and then we'll save that locally in that .pth format.
What is the point of the trace?
Once that is saved locally, We're going to drop that in S3. So again, session.upload data, we'll drop that into S3. Now, let's take a look at our inferencing code. So there's really one function that matters the most when inferencing. I mean, they're all important. You've got 4 functions in for your inferencing script. The model function, which you see right here, picks your model up from disk for health checks, for like SageMaker pings. So when you're calling model.deploy, you need to make sure that this model function is operational. And that's why, again, using Studio locally just to test that function out is a great first step. So again, make sure that model function is working locally, and then drop it into your inference.py script if you want to, not strictly required. But if you want to, you can, again, load it into the inference.py script. So you've got your model function, which is used by SageMaker for health checks. So make sure that that model function is operational. You have an input function, which is accepting the inferencing request. So the input function is looking at, again, the data that's hitting your endpoint and is doing any pre-processing that you need to right there. So inputs, model function, predict. So the predict function takes the outputs of both of those two, your parse data in your model, and just runs your data through the model, so predict, and then output, which sends it directly back to the client. Again, those functions are optional, but if you need to, define more specifically how that operates, then you can bring them yourself. And so in this case, we're obviously bringing them for Inferentia. And so with our inferencing.py script defined, we're going to deploy this. Actually, in this notebook, we deployed to 2 machines. We deploy it onto a G4DN.xl, which is this one, and then we're gonna compare it with the same model deployed onto Inferentia, and then we'll look at the changes in performance. And so first off, so we've got this deploy onto G4. So let's check this out. So again, this one is using that PyTorch model. You can switch that out with a Hugging Face model, totally appropriate. So we'll use the PyTorch model. We got our predictor object and etc. Great, so that's our inference normal.py script and our source directory and then the model name.
Okay, so
actually this is just the job name.
All right, cool.
All right, so then model.deploy. And so again, we're deploying that out to a G4DN, and that is 1 machine. We'll do just some quick predicting. So just, again, we're going to invoke that model.predict, that endpoint.predict right here on our payload, which is predicting that this is a paraphrase. So that's paraphrase detection. And then we're going to compile this model using Neo and deploy onto Inferentia. So this next one is now using that Neuron SDK, again via Neo, BERT sequence classification, still using this PyTorch model constructs. And we're going to trace this model URL. Again, that's the same model that we passed for both of them. So that model data in S3 should be the same for both. Yeah, here we go. Yep, it's the same in both. So the same model data. Great. Inference.py. Except instead of calling .predict or .deploy, we're going to call .compile. So now we're going to take that model and we're going to compile it for Inferentia. So we're going to compile it for inf1. So again, we're specifying our target instance family, which is inf1, defining the shape, the job name, framework version, and then where we want the artifact to go in S3 on completion. Once this finishes, so again, after that model is compiled, we can deploy it onto Inferentia. So then we'll do our inf1 deploy, which is this one. All right, and then we've got our 2 objects here again, and we'll call the same, that same syntax. So predictor.predict on our payload, which also predicts that it's a paraphrase, right? Because it's the same model. So the question is which one is faster and which one has more throughput and costs less, which is the important one at the end of the day. So this is just some benchmarking content, and I apologize, this is still in dark mode. This is time. And this is the basically the number of requests that we're hitting through. Yeah, there we go. And so essentially, we're seeing that 95% of these requests are less than 91 milliseconds. And the rough throughput per second, so the number of requests that we can respond to in a second, is 57. 57.12 seconds. So that's the number of requests. And then here's the same one with a little bit of an easier read there. All right. So the latency pretty concentrated around the 85 to 90 millisecond range. Throughput is around 60 TPS. And that was for that G4. So remember, that was on that G4 hardware. And now we're going to look at the same thing, but with Inferentia. And so another just local function here to invoke the endpoint, and we'll see a big move to the left. So remember, higher latency is further right, lower latency is lower left. And so when we're benchmarking for latency, it's better to be to the left. So we see that for Inferentia overall, the time moved down. And let's see. So now 95% of requests are less than 36 milliseconds, and the throughput is through the roof. The throughput is 165 requests per second. And then here's a bit of an easier read there. So again, move to the left. So here, essentially, we saw that latency dropped to 25 to 30 milliseconds per range, which was a 70% latency decrease, while throughput increased to 220 transactions per second, which was about a 400% increase. And so again, all of that was using Inferentia to deploy onto SageMaker hosting. And so I hope you enjoyed the demo. All right, so some pro tips to close us out here. So the same pattern holds true. Test locally, then scale. When you have a fine-tuned model, when you have a model that has been trained on the Hugging Face Hub, definitely make sure that you're testing it locally. Like, please, 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 try it on your notebook, try it on your notebook instance, try it on your laptop. Make sure that that script operates before you try and turn on your SageMaker resources. So that's pro tip number one. Number two, I actually really prefer just using the boilerplate code. Like, it is so much more simple to just point to the Hugging Face code that's already out there, all the solutions that they have, all of the models that they have. Again, they have an incredibly active open source community, so tap into that. Like, ask questions on their GitHub, open issues, look at issues that they've closed. They have a ton of helpful comments out there, so definitely take a look at their code that's available. And it's available not just at the model level, but at the overall use case level. So when you're fine-tuning the model, or when you're solving for question answering, when you're solving for translation, they have these larger scripts that you can run, and they'll import the tokenizer for you, and they'll make sure that it's been tokenized or not, or they'll just run a lot of the content for you. The one addendum to that, I would say, that's specific to hosting is when you need to change hyperparameters on the invocation for hosting. So this happens a lot in text generation, especially. In text generation, when you're working with the GPT-2 models of the world and beyond, the parameters that you pass in can actually really define the type of text that is produced. You can define how creative it is, almost, how diverse the words are. You can define how precise you want them to be. You can define what the lengths of them should be. So the addendum to the boilerplate code tip is to, when you're working with, again, generation models, just spend some time testing out the best hyperparameters for inferencing, and then make sure that you load those in. And then the last pro tip is, again, plan for bias. Plan on bias being in your models. Develop ways to review these. So use SageMaker Clarify to set up notifications. Use SageMaker Ground Truth. Use your boots on the ground experts who can help you figure out why a model is doing a certain thing, or what the best response is for a customer. And